Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in the Yukon. A fatal car crash shut down a section of the Alaska Highway for several hours this morning. It happened on the outskirts of Whitehorse. The CBC's Callie McTavish reports.
The driver of a semi-truck died in a collision this morning on the Alaska Highway. It happened at the intersection of Kathleen Road around 8 a.m. RCMP say it involved a city bus. They say no passengers have been reported injured at this time. The Yukon Department of Education says school buses were affected by the incident. A 1-kilometer section of the highway was closed for several hours. Drivers were delayed because there are no detours around that section of road. As of this afternoon, one lane has reopened. They are allowing alternating rows of traffic to pass the crash site. 511 Yukon says drivers should expect delays. Callie McTavish, CBC News, Whitehorse.
In the Northwest Territories, the town of Fort Smith is working to recover costs from fighting a proposed power rate increase. The Northwest Territories Power Corporation filed the rate increase application in 2024. The money the town has spent is refundable, but it's unclear when it'll be paid out. Carla Ulrich has that story.
Fort Smith Councillor Mike Couvrette says the NTPC Utility Board hearings are lengthy and costly. The town spent $21,000 in 2024 fighting the rate increase, and more than $16,000 has been spent so far this year. That money has been coming out of the public relations budget, which was exceeded in both years. Despite the cost, Couvrette says community intervention is important.
Yeah, if we didn't intervene, the rates would have went up 24%.
Couvrette says most of the money goes to consultants. It is reimbursable through the Public Utility Board, but not immediately. Fort Smith is out of pocket until the application review is finished.
We cannot expect a consultant to put in hours and hours and weeks of work and not be paid for it in a timely manner. However, we're not being reimbursed in what we consider a timely manner in this particular instance.
Couvrette says the town has also been tracking the cost of damages sustained during recent power outages and brownouts. That includes damage to equipment at the town's pool. A spokesperson for NTPC declined to comment, but say they have not received an application for compensation from the town of Fort Smith. Carla Ulrich, CBC News, Fort Smith.
9 modular homes are being installed in Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. The builder hopes modular construction will offer families a faster path to housing. Arctic Modular Homes is providing the units as part of a contract with the Nunavut Housing Corporation. 22 pods were built off-site and most of them have been shipped. Once assembled, the community will gain 5 2-bedroom units and 4 4-bedroom units for larger families. A co-owner of Arctic Modular Homes says speed is a benefit when building these homes.
If we're able to put 9 homes together in 9 weeks, having to build those units from ground up on site, you're probably looking at well over a year. So we can deliver at scale into communities with a modular method.
The company says it has the capacity to deliver 22 to 30 homes a year across Nunavut. The 9 modular homes in Cambridge Bay are set to be completed by the first week of November. An update now to Yellowknife's Willow Flats rezoning saga. The proposal seeks to rezone a popular nature area in the city for housing. City Council voted on the matter Monday night after getting over 200 letters and emails from the public. Sarah St. Pierre has more.
A contentious issue. That's what some city councillors are calling the rezoning of land near Willow Flats. Some members of the public support it, but the response has been overwhelmingly negative.
I've been driving the public to engage. It would be hard for me to then not listen to what they said. And I appreciate that others out there might think differently, but I can only work with what I was actually given. And what I was given was opposition.
Council was supposed to make an initial decision Monday, move it along to a public hearing, or kill the whole idea. It ended up tabling the matter until the next council meeting. Well, part of it. The proposal is divided into 2 parkland areas. The point is to rezone them for housing. The Western Bloc passed first reading Monday, but the Eastern Bloc was tabled. That's because 3 councillors were absent from council, and as things stood, council was divided.
I don't care who the developer is, and I don't care where it is. I would support any free land that we can develop. I'm going to support. I don't care if we're going to put a 3rd floor on City Hall and put high-end condos on it. I'll support that too. The fact is, we need housing in this town, and we all know we need housing in this town.
If the proposal passes, who gets to build there will be decided by a ballot draw. No developers are attached yet, but the city says some Indigenous governments are interested in partnering on the development.
I would definitely be more supportive of the proposal to rezone this if it would guarantee or be guaranteed to be for use by the Indigenous Development Corp.
Willow Flats will be back on council's agenda on September 22nd. After that, the public should get to give more input through a public hearing. Sarah Saint-Pierre, CBC News, Yellowknife.
As of noon on Thursday, people from Fort Providence NWT will be allowed back into the community. The evacuation order is set to be downgraded soon after, according to the hamlet's senior administrative officer. That's from a Hamlet update tonight issued just moments ago. The hamlet says it's letting essential workers back tomorrow to get the school, health center, hamlet services, and grocers back online. It says some areas will be blocked off and there's still a chance of flare-ups on the north end of the fire. A former Nunavut police officer has been sentenced to 7 years in prison for sex offenses against minors. Charlie Keelan pleaded guilty last week to several offenses involving 4 victims. Those offenses include sexual assault and sexual exploitation of a teenage girl while in a position of trust. The incidents happened between 1997 and 2020, when Keelan was an officer in Quaqtuck. Keelan was arrested and charged last year. He was sentenced in Quaqtuck on Friday. The former president of the Kitimut Inuit Association, or KIA, has died. Bobby Greenley was elected president of KIA in 2022. He held that position until March of this year, when he took a leave of absence due to illness. The acting president of KIA says Greenley was a good person and unafraid to speak his mind.
He's kind, and he likes hunting, and he loves his family, of course, and he gets along very well anybody, and he look for ways how we can benefit Inuit with our organization.
Greenley was known for several accomplishments. He started a freight subsidy program for Inuit that allowed lower shipping costs for small vehicles. Italuk says Greenley was also instrumental in the opening of the new B2 gold mine, and he made sure environmental and Inuit employment standards were met. Today is International Fetal Alcohol Spectrum Disorder Day. FASD, the Fetal Alcohol Syndrome Society of the Yukon, is hosting various awareness events. FASD's executive director says raising awareness is especially important this year. That's because the federal government is debating the creation of a national FASD framework.
All of us across Canada that work in this industry are trying to push for a national framework. So the autism community has a national autism framework. And once that was invoked at the national level, we saw a lot more supports in the provincial and territorial sectors. Currently, without having that in FASD world, what we see is that places like Quebec and Nova Scotia don't currently participate. They do not offer diagnosis. It is very much just depending on the people in nonprofits in those places to move forward the education and awareness raising about FASD. We also see that there's very difference in how diagnoses are happening across the country. We have, in the Yukon, we don't share our data. So We know that up to 5 adults a year can get a diagnosis, but we don't necessarily know if that's happening regularly. That's not public information. Other places it is more public. So this is why it makes it really difficult for us to know an actual number of how many people have FASD, because it's so different across the country. Everybody is kind of using their own guidelines, their own coding when it comes to medical stuff. So it makes it really hard for us to really know the prevalence. When you don't know prevalence, are any of our efforts of talking about advocacy and prevention even making a difference? We don't know those things.
In Canada, at least 4% of people have been diagnosed with FASD, and McKinnon says 30% of Canadians have had some prenatal exposure to alcohol. To mark the day, the organization hosted a barbecue in Whitehorse. FASD invited the community to grab free food at Shipyards Park. People connected and learned about FASD. About 50 people attended the event, and one of them is Jessica Fulmer. She was diagnosed with fetal alcohol spectrum disorder when she was 20.
I was angry at first at my biological mom. I was adopted at birth, so I didn't really know her growing up, and I didn't really know any of the health history growing up. Support needs to be out there for families who either adopt or raise kids with FASD, not just for the child or the youth or the adult. It needs to be out there for the parents so they don't get burnt out. It needs to be out there for the siblings so they get the support they need in learning how to help the sibling with the disability, and so that they get some relief in alone time. All things my family never had.
September is FASD Awareness Month in Canada. The Alberta government has revised its guidelines for books it says should be removed from schools. The update follows backlash over previous rules that might have affected some classic novels. Julia Wong has the latest guidelines and the reaction to them.
A new chapter in the drama over books in Alberta schools, as new rules from the province narrow the scope of offending titles. The Alberta government now says materials containing any explicit visual depiction of a sexual act will not be available to students, such as drawings, paintings, or photos.
Any material that includes visual depictions of sexual activities, that's our concern, and has always been our concern from the very beginning.
Written explicit content can stay on the shelves, so can anatomy books. The new rules come after CBC News obtained a list from Edmonton Public Schools of books it would have banned under the previous rules. Those included classics such as The Handmaid's Tale, Brave New World, and I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings.
Edmonton Public is clearly doing a little vicious compliance over what the direction is.
On top of more specific criteria, the new rules now cover all grade levels. Reviews are mixed.
It makes no sense. I mean, first of all, as many of us know, our imagination is great. So to say that descriptions of sexual acts are okay, but visual depictions of them are not okay is a phony distinction.
Honestly, anyone who pretends that this is censorship is really saying that they should have the right to show sexual images to other people's children without their parents' consent.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith is walking a fine line to appease a broad base, says this political expert.
This could have been a lot simpler and less complicated and less public and less embarrassing for the government had they dealt with it in consultation with teachers and schools.
It isn't clear how many titles will be affected, but school boards must submit a list of books they plan to remove by October 31st, and those will need to be off the shelves by January 5th of next year. Julia Wong, CBC News, Edmonton.
British Columbia, on average, only sees about one tornado a year. It's not exactly known for it. But this year, one area of the province alone had 2 rounds of tornado warnings. The number of reported tornadoes in the province also appears to be on the rise. Joanna Wagstaff finds out if a new tornado alley is forming in BC.
So in Canada, we usually clock an average of just under 90 tornadoes a year. BC normally gets about one of those, but this season was different. The BC interior alone had several rounds of tornado warnings, and overall, the numbers have been creeping up. So is there a new tornado alley in British Columbia? Sort of.
The Northern Tornadoes Project, since 2017, has been collecting data across the country to get a better idea of what the tornado climatology of the country is. The fact that we're looking for tornadoes and finding tornadoes and building this database, it's gonna change the numbers.
One part of the puzzle is actually quite simple. We're just better at noticing them. The radar, social media, we're picking them up more than we used to.
I just get the feeling that since we started doing that work, there's been a lot more warnings and watches put out on tornadoes. In areas like Edmonton, Calgary, Southern Ontario, the population density is high. It's really tough for a tornado that causes damage to escape. Whereas in BC, I think there's quite a few areas that, if something happened, it might not ever make it out to us. And so we really count on people reporting to us.
But that's not the whole story. Here's where climate change sneaks into the picture. To get a severe thunderstorm, to actually spin up a tornado, you need a very particular recipe. First, instability. Think cold, dry air parked above moist, warm air near the ground. That imbalance makes air rise quickly. We also need wind shear or twist to get the spin going. A warmer atmosphere holds more moisture, and that's one of the big ingredients. So in theory, that stacks the deck for stronger thunderstorms. But the twist or the shear part could actually decrease in a warmer world. And that's why tornadoes are one of the few extreme weather events scientists can't yet say will definitely become stronger or more common with climate change.
Everybody assumes climate change is going to result in more storms, more tornadoes. And we're finding that, maybe that's not the case. This is much more complicated than we thought. And what we have found is that years with a lot of fire activity, we tend to get less tornadoes. And we're looking into why, but it seems like it's a lot to do with the smoke.
So is there a new tornado alley in BC? Not exactly, but the more we look, the more it seems maybe BC's been a bit more tornado-ish all along.
That was the CBC's Johanna Wagstaff in Vancouver. There's new concern about the volume of ads promoting sports betting in Canada, including warnings that kids who are exposed now could become addicted when they grow up. Alison Northcott explains what's driving those fears.
At Bet365, we believe every moment should be never ordinary.
Ads for betting apps have become unavoidable for sports fans.
Make it a place you'll never forget. BetMGM Sportsbook.
But some doctors are warning gambling advertising insidiously normalizes a harmful activity, writing in an editorial the promotion of sports betting is a willful mortgage of Canada's future to the interests of private profit and tax revenue. Canada began allowing single-game bets in 2021. The next year, Ontario became the only province to allow private companies to operate online sports betting sites legally. But their ads can be seen across the country, including by kids, says this adolescent addiction medicine specialist.
What I have seen is an increase in harms from gambling for people who are under the age where they should be legally allowed to engage in any gambling.
At North Star Bets, that's prompting calls for more rules, including limiting how many ads are allowed, how often they appear, and when.
Ever since it was legalized, it's everywhere now.
The in-between plays, they're always playing it around. It's becoming actually quite annoying seeing a lot of it.
Experts say problem gambling has been associated with increased risks of suicide and substance use disorders, and starting early can have long-term consequences.
Most men, anyway, who have a gambling problem in their lifetime start gambling before the age of 19, sometimes as early as 10.
Last year, Ontario banned athletes and restricted the use of celebrities in sports betting ads.
It's foolish to gamble with the health and well-being of Canadians.
And a Senate bill is calling for more restrictions right across Canada. But the industry says there are already safeguards.
What they want to do is prevent minors from gambling and limiting people with problems. And that comes through education and awareness.
Alberta could soon follow Ontario's lead. The province plans to launch a private, regulated online gaming market of its own. Alison Northcott, CBC News, Montreal.
Berry picking is one of the most popular pastimes in the north. But for some, it's more than just a hobby. The CBC's Noel Kalujak explains why.
The tundra in the far north seems barren, but if you're walking along and look down, you can find an abundance of edible fruits, like the akpik, called cloudberry, and the blackberry. There are also blueberries and cranberries that come later in the fall. Folks in the Kivalak pick berries as soon as they're ripe. Many bags of ziplocs are filled to the top. The harvest continues until snow covers the berries. There are also challenges as the goose flies south for the winter, and the fight for the most berries is a battle, picking the best spots for the best berries. Bertha Nakulak is an avid berry picker in Rankin Inlet. She stores the berries in a Ziploc in her freezer for the winter. She says she uses the berries she picks to bake, and she uses her own recipe.
I make tea, biscuits, and muffins. The family likes to eat them, and they really like them. We also bring them when we go out on the land or hunting. There are so many ways to use the berries for baking. I will store the berries in the freezer and use them for baking all year round.
Akpik is also a favorite for many who make jam. Residents say this year has been perfect for picking berries as the weather was warm and the sun came out most days. Hati Alakalak is an elder from Akbet. She says she hasn't seen this many berries in decades.
There are so many berries, and they are much bigger this year. We have been living in Akvat for nearly 50 years. This is the first time I've seen so many berries.
As the weather cools, the berry pickers will have to wait another year for more berries. Noel Kalujak, CBC News, Rankin Inlet.
A thespian, a businessman, and a raven whisperer. Yellowknife's Merlin Williams died earlier this week at the age of 84. Williams was known for his business acumen, his advocacy for seniors, and his contributions to the city's arts scene. In 2013, his conversation with a raven caught the world's attention. Here's that story from our archives.
How you doing?
Raymond the Raven is a familiar sight in Merlin Williams' backyard. For 3 years, he's been dropping in, grabbing scraps of bread or sausage.
As soon as there's a shortage of food, right, he knows, come back here. This is the hand of plenty, you know.
After a snack, they have a friendly chat.
Are you happy? Hey, I know you are.
Thousands of people have watched the pair on YouTube.
But I think he mimics laughing sometimes, right? He likes to laugh. What he laughs at, I don't know. Might I got a great sense of humor too.
This Raymond isn't the only one either. Williams rescued his first raven in 1975. It quickly became part of the family.
This is my youngest daughter, Beth Ann. She's not too fond of ravens. She still isn't.
Scientists say ravens are among the smartest animals. They not only mimic calls, but they use tools and gestures to communicate.
There's certainly a social component to them. My gosh, when you watch them, tease food away from a dog that could easily do the raven in, they can outsmart the dog every time. And
this raven uses its charm to snag a lunch, but not without a little attitude.
And he will give me heck sometimes, you know. He will be quite verbal about it, and he says, I don't like this, and he'll keep on and on and on and on. And okay, go in now, Raymond. Bye-bye. You're so funny. Yes. As soon as the snow starts flying, he'll be here, but don't worry. Where's my food? Where's my food? Ow, you little bugger, you sod!
Elizabeth McMillan, CBC News, Yellowknife.
And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.